Hey, what's going on, folks? We have a great show for you today. The Attorney General Merrick Garland finally broke silence on the FBI Trump raid, and we're going to play that almost full speech for you in a second. I got most of it. And I also want to talk about this news story from today, new from NBC 15 News. Armed man with AR-15 style rifle fires nail gun into FBI Cincinnati building, leading to police pursuit and shots fired on an interstate, authorities say. I'll read that story, and then we'll talk about what's going on. Crazy stuff. Here's the Attorney General to address Trump's raid.
The department did not make any public statements on the day of the search. The former president publicly confirmed the search that evening, as is his right. Copies of both the warrant and the FBI property receipt were provided on the day of the search to the former president's counsel, who was on site during the search. The search warrant was authorized by a federal court upon the required finding of probable cause. The property receipt is a document that federal law requires law enforcement agents to leave with the property owner. The department filed the motion to make public the warrant and receipt in light of the former president's public confirmation of the search, the surrounding circumstances, and the substantial public interest in this matter. Faithful adherence to the rule of law is the bedrock principle of the Justice Department and of our democracy. Upholding the rule of law means applying the law evenly, without fear or favor. Under my watch, that is precisely what the Justice Department is doing. All Americans are entitled to the even-handed application of the law, to due process of the law, and to the presumption of innocence. Much of our work is by necessity conducted out of the public eye. We do that to protect the constitutional rights of all Americans and to protect the integrity of our investigations. Federal law, long-standing department rules, and our ethical obligations prevent me from providing further details as to the basis of the search at this time. There are, however, certain points I want you to know. First, I personally approved the decision to seek a search warrant in this matter. Second, the department does not take such a decision lightly. Where possible, it is standard practice to seek less intrusive means as an alternative to a search and to narrowly scope any search that is undertaken. Third, let me address recent unfounded attacks on the professionalism of the FBI and Justice Department agents and prosecutors. I will not stand by silently when their integrity is unfairly attacked. The men and women of the FBI and the Justice Department are dedicated, patriotic public servants. Every day, they protect the American people from violent crime, terrorism, and other threats to their safety, while safeguarding our civil rights. They do so at great personal sacrifice and risk to themselves. I am honored to work alongside them. This is all I can say right now. More information will be made available in the appropriate way and at the appropriate time. Thank you.
All right, that's the Attorney General Merrick Garland at the Department of Justice.
Thank you all for your questions. But as I said, this is all I can say at this time.
We expected that would be his answer to any questions following his news conference here moments ago, where he did not take questions, but again made significant news here as you were watching.
Hope you enjoy the show, folks. It starts now.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me today on another live stream of the Dream Rare Podcast. So in my hand, I have an NBC News article. It says, man armed with AR-15 style rifle shoots into FBI Cincinnati building with a nail gun and flees leading to interstate standoff. So I guess he attacked, and they're saying allegedly, reportedly, an FBI building with a nail gun, and they're calling it an AR-15 style nail gun. Interesting stuff. I'll read that whole article in a second. My first response, I saw that Merrick Garland said that he personally signed off on the search warrant and he personally approved of it, rather. This is interesting because a lot of people were suspecting that early on if he had a part in it. I'll just say this, and then I want to kind of weigh out all sides of this because obviously I don't know what's going on. I'm just watching it like everybody else. I could have an opinion, but until Trump or the FBI or the AG releases exactly what documents he had, we're all kind of just guessing at this point. Merrick Garland seems like a very angry guy. Like his energy kind of creeps me out. No offense, but like, Bill Barr seems pretty stern, and there's other people that I don't fully trust them or anything, but they just seem like pretty like level-headed when they speak and stuff. I don't know. Even Trump is pretty funny, but Merrick Garland just seems like very angry. Like he reminds me of that Arthur meme. If you guys ever seen Arthur the Aardvark, and he's got his hands like so squeezed because he's so mad. Like that's the energy of Merrick Garland. He's like, Arr! He's like, who's the FBI so great? And I'm like, dude, calm down. You know what I'm saying? Like you really you're creeping me out just with your vibes, but I don't think he cares about what I think. Here's another clip I want to play from ABC in a second where they're saying, I guess they have some sort of ex-FBI agent saying that it must have been pretty bad because they wouldn't just do a search raid. Like they have different things they could do. They don't just have to like search your house without warning. So, here's what I'm going to weigh out before I play that clip. Here's all the possibilities, right? I can say I think they're framing Trump or they're trying to give him a raw deal. I think if someone else did what Trump did, if it was Obama, Hillary, etc., they probably wouldn't have done this. That's just my thought. Like, that's my guess. But it's like, I'm starting to wonder too. I know obviously a lot of my audience will be like, it's a circus, it's a trap, they're doing this. Everybody's got an opinion. But I'm like, on one hand, I feel like they always lie about Trump and screw him over. On another hand, I'm like, is Trump actually dumb enough to like take a classified document and not realize it or not care? Like all of these are possibilities to me at this point. I don't know for sure, but here's another clip of like an ex-FBI guy basically saying they wouldn't just do this randomly. So let's just listen.
Thought we want to bring in former FBI agent, ABC News contributor Brad Garrett. Brad, does it matter to a certain extent what these documents show, or is it the fact that they were classified and taken from the White House?
Well, I think it's both. I'm only going to speculate that to go to the immense trouble the FBI had to do to even write the search warrant, let alone get it approved, is that it would have to be some pretty serious stuff.
So I'm not going to play the whole clip. I just wanted to play that clip of the FBI guy basically saying, I'm not going to speculate, but in order for them to not only sign the warrant but approve it in the first place, it must have been something. So let me know what you think in the comments. I'm going to read that story about the nail gun right now, and I'm just curious. It's like, are they just completely lying about Trump to go after him? Is Trump actually foolish enough to take classified documents he shouldn't have taken and given them a reason to do that? Did they have to raid his entire place looking for the documents? Obviously, there's a lot of, suspect activity going on, but I'm always just weighing out all sides. All right, so this story caught my eye this morning, and I have a lot to say about this. So, a man armed with, they're calling it an AR-15 style rifle, shoots at an FBI Cincinnati building with a nail gun and flees, leading to interstate standoff. An armed man fired a nail gun into FBI Cincinnati building Thursday morning, leading to a police pursuit. Two law enforcement sources told NBC News that a man got inside and fired a nail gun towards personnel before fleeing into a car. Law enforcement had traded shots with the male suspect who was wearing a gray shirt and body armor. So apparently a guy wearing body armor went to the FBI office with a nail gun. Like, who does this stuff? By the way, obviously on my show, we condemn violence, we condemn anger and hate. And I'm going to talk about this later. A lot of left-wing and right-wing news, they just want to get you angry, emotion, and people freak out. And then they're like, here's some pharmacy pills and hats, made in China to sell in your, and it's like, all right, so we condemn, we don't even like to get angry or hateful here because we know that the devil wants us to be angry. They want us to be uncalculated, right? They want you to feel all emotional and go get set up like a January 6th. So if you're boxing or playing sports, you can't just be angry, then you mess up and lose and get a technical and get knocked out. You have to be calculated when you're playing this game. So, I know there's a lot of right-wing people who are like, Civil War. Oh, it's like they're just making millions of dollars off scaring the crap out of you. And there is no Civil War. They're not going to Civil War. They're just sitting eating Cheetos and watching their YouTube accounts, pay them hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I'm not knocking the free market. Make your money. But it's like so many of these right-wing and left-wing news sources, they just try to like rile people up, and they don't even give people a pathway to success. It's just like be angry aimlessly and whatever. So don't do that, because I'm not going to say they want you to do that, but there are some people out there that want you to do dumb stuff, so then they could point at you and use it against your entire political movement for years. And I'm going to talk about the double standards there, but let's get back to this story. The suspect had unknown injuries, according to Ohio State Highway Patrol. No officers or bystanders have been injured. Brian Murphy, a former official at the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI, who is now an executive at the open source intelligence firm Logically, told the AP Wednesday his company had observed a large uptick in threats against the FBI personnel and facilities on social media platforms since FBI's raid. Christopher Wray said, I'm always concerned about threats to law enforcement. Violence against law enforcement is not the answer, no matter who you're upset with. So let's break this all down real quick. Violence isn't the answer. Don't threaten anybody, whether it's a police force, FBI. Like, don't do that. That's stupid. It's not going to work. It's only going to get everybody in trouble and hurt somebody. With that being said, I find it fascinating that now the FBI gets to play the victim, where it's like, oh my God, this guy attacked us with a nail gun, which is terrible. I condemn that completely. Obviously, it's stupid and evil. But it's like now they're like, oh, now, they're using it like everybody who criticizes us may be certain threatening. This is the type of rhetoric. I'm not saying they're saying here, but they're starting to talk about it. And here's what I find fascinating about left-wing terrorism and right-wing terrorism. I think it's all bad, obviously, like real terrorism is evil and violence and stuff. But when you watch the media wins and the left wing wins because they don't equally treat us the same way. So when I'm not even going to say it's BLM, because it was a lot of opportunists, like low level, just like local criminals who were taking advantage of a shitty situation. It wasn't even that targeted in some cases. But, in the George Floyd riots, let's just call them the George Floyd riots, there was like an unholy alliance of just pissed off people in the streets. You had looting, you had riots, you had billions of dollars of damages done, you had multiple people killed, you had hundreds of stores just ransacked and destroyed, you had entire communities terrorized. And when that happened, do you see the media say, okay, now that everybody's terrorizing our country over the George Floyd riots and this BLM rhetoric, do they try to shut down BLM and say, oh, anybody who speaks this way is inciting terrorism, right? Anybody who fuels the fire of this ideology is fueling terrorism. Of course they don't do that. What they do is the exact opposite. You have mainstream celebrities start bailing these people out of jail. You have the NFL, NBA, and major leagues, sports leagues do like billions of dollars of free advertisement on their jerseys and on their end zones and on their courts. So when terrorism happens, that is left-wing terrorism, that is very evil and very terrible on a nationwide scale, not just a targeted terrorist attack, which is terrible, but a huge nationwide like terrorist bonanza. They don't shut down the left-wing ideology and say, oh, you're all inciting terrorism when you do that. But when it happens on the right, with whether it be the Capitol, which was a big event, or this FBI attack, which is a small event, they're now going to say anybody who criticizes the FBI and anybody who's right-wing who disagrees with law enforcement is inciting this type of violence. It's just so clear that they don't. This is why they win. When left-wingers do terrorism to a bigger extent, they fuel it, they fundraise off it, they make a lot of money, they pump it with a bunch of rhetoric and cash. All the sports leagues adapt it, and they let these people get their way, and they're basically signaling to them, that's fine, go do more of that. They're totally okay with it. So this is the false paradigm that they're really screwing us over, because I feel the same way whether it's left-wing or right-wing. If it's evil, if it's violence, if it's stupid, if it's pointless, if you're just getting yourself in trouble, don't do it. I don't care if you call yourself Antifa or a Trump guy. You know what I'm saying? My message stays the same. But the media, the FBI, they can pretend like their message is the same. Maybe there's some good guys in there where their message is the same, but When left-wingers do terrorist attacks, they do not blame the whole left wing. They don't use it as a way to quash the entire discussion that's being had with the terrorism, like in the George Floyd riots. They actually give it more credence and actually say that that's fine. We're going to actually, value what you're saying because you're doing destruction. They don't shut the conversation down. They just fuel it. And when it's a right-wing thing, whether it's 1 person, 10 person, 100 person, they act as if now every single person, whoever has done that ever, is somehow responsible. So you can't talk about it. So when Joy Reid fuels the fire of hate, when Rachel Maddow fuels the fire of hate, they don't give a crap. But if you now peacefully disagree with their rhetoric, then now you're fueling a hate because one person does something. These are the little stupid games they play, and it couldn't be more obvious. With that being said, I have to be 100% fair and say that, one thing that really bothers me, and I'm not blaming these people. They don't deserve to be charged. Nothing they're doing is illegal. It's protected under the First Amendment. I don't believe we should start making the jump to say, well, Alex Jones said that and these people did it, so it's his fault. No. Because there are people who shot up baseball games that are left-wing listening to left-wing news. Although I think left-wing news is evil, they're not responsible for you doing something. You are in control of your own life. They can't make you do something. And to be fair, even at the Capitol, a lot of people said, well, there were feds there leading people in the Capitol building. Probably true, but they didn't make you go in the Capitol building. They didn't make people go in Pelosi's office. So even if there's people trying to lead you in the wrong direction, you have to take accountability of your own life, whether you're left wing or right wing, and not fall for the traps and not buy into the evil, the anger, or the, I would say political trap where they want you to go. So then they could use it against you for 3 years. So we all have to be accountable for our own lives and not blame a news host for your actions. That's stupid. With that being said, just like I just said, the left-wing rhetoric's terrible. I think there's a lot of people on the right wing who aimlessly just scream their head off and say, civil war, and they just make millions of dollars off you doing that. There is no civil war. It's not going to be physical. It's going to be mental. It's going to be spiritual. And it's going to be like a chess game. China's playing chess. America's playing chess. Foreign countries are playing chess. Intelligence agencies are playing chess. Politicians are playing chess. They purposely play the victim to fundraise on both sides. So they're playing this strategic game. There is going to be no fight in the streets. They're trying to get you to go to another January 6th situation. And a lot of these douchey right-wing news hosts, they don't give a crap if they just piss you off and you want to go do something, because they're making a bunch of money off you guys. And they're a bunch of cowards. They're not leading the charge like George Washington. They're sitting on their ass, just making money, just pissing people off for a headline and a click. So I'm just telling people, stay very peaceful. Stay very honest, because there are people that are going to try to get somebody to do something stupid so then they could point at that stupid person and then use it to shut everybody down for a couple years like they did January 6th. So just be very strategic, because in general, this is just my personal, I would say, foresight into the future. There is going to be no and I know Tim Pool constantly lies to his audience and fearmongers and puts his sweaty beanie on his head, but there is going to be no left versus right civil war that happens physically. It's just not going to happen. There's a mental war going on. There's a spiritual war going on. People are going to do fringe things. Like, this is not new. People killed JFK. There were, Rodney King riots. I mean, there's Waco happened 20 years ago. So there's always been crazy situations in America. Don't get it twisted. It doesn't mean it's not getting slightly worse socially now, but this idea that one event, like Tim Pool says, civil war, when one guy does something at an FBI building, Tim is such a phony. But in general, he's trying to get people all angry and hyped up because whatever. But this is my personal take, is the way America is going to get worse, where are you? Is Tim leading an art? No, he's sitting making money. Where are you going to go if you're so angry? There is no one to fight. There is nobody in the streets. Maybe if you're lucky, you go to an Antifa versus Proud Boy event, and I call it the dummy proxy war. You just fight with a bunch of people on the other side, and nobody cares. The bankers don't care. Democrats don't care. They want you to do that stuff. They want you to show up to a Charlottesville or a January 6th. They want something to happen. They want to fuel both sides of the fire. It's not like, you're fighting anybody. The fight is to take control of your own life, be self-sustainable, see into the future. And if America boils down, it's not going to be a bunch of left-wingers and right-wingers marching in the streets fighting each other. It's not going to happen. What's probably going to happen if America gets crappier, look at like the Dominican Republic. Look at some of these islands. Look at places like Mexico. You know, when there's a power vacuum, they have cartels, they have gangs, they have certain really nice areas. If you're rich, you get to stay there. And if you're broke, it gets unsafe. In America, it used to be if you were broke, you could still live in a very safe area. More and more what you're going to see is having not enough money isn't going to keep you safe anymore. So I think if anything, America's going to break down. There's going to be, maybe if the currency breaks down or if like lawlessness gets so severe that nobody can enforce the law anymore, you're going to see situations like you see in foreign countries where the wealthy stay protected with their armed guards and everybody in the middle class and poor is going to have to suffer a power vacuum. You know, gangs will take over. Maybe the strongest force on the ground will take over. Crime will be rampant. But it's not going to be like Tim Pool versus Rachel Maddow with their armies in the streets. They're both lying to you, making millions of dollars, hyping you up, trying to get you angry and emotional, and they're cashing out on it. There is going to be no war like that. There's going to be possibly a social or financial breakdown in which people who are self-sustainable in the mountains will do well, and people that are in cities that are lawless will have to suffer just like it's happening now. And the worse it gets, the more people leave, the worse it gets, the better it's going to be rich. You know, it's always been better to be rich, but in general, you know, in 1970, you can be middle class and, you know, you could be middle class and get away with it. But now I think more and more, it's going to take more wealth to keep yourself safe. Someone said anomaly is weak. I mean, if you want to get all hyped up and angry and emotional, then you'll probably catch yourself in a January 6th entrapment event again, and they want you to do that. So if you want to listen to these frauds, go ahead. I don't care. I'm not begging for you to be here. You know how many people told me on January 6th on Twitter for 3 months, oh, Anomaly, you're not a patriot if you don't come to January 6th. I'm angry, so I must be right, Anomaly. You're not a patriot. I'm going to go support Trump. And I told people in September, October, November, I said, I'm not going to, maybe November and December, because it wasn't around in September, but I'm like, I'm not going to January 6th because I'm not running circles around a vaccine salesman. Donald Trump showed me where his loyalty was. It's to Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson. So the same people that are going to call me weak now were the same ones that were so emotionally charged that they couldn't see through the Trump deception, and they went to the vaccine salesman little January 6th bonanza where he threw his hands into the air aimlessly and said, Mike Pence, and everyone got ticked off, and like a couple hundred to a couple thousand people did stupid crap, and now they're crying and playing the victim. You walked right into an FBI trap. I'm not. So I'm telling people, be peaceful, be accurate, and the real war going on is internally. Change yourself to change the world. You know, Tim Pool wants to start a civil war, but he's got, you know, he doesn't even have enough confidence to take the black beanie off his head because he's in his 30s balding and he's self-conscious, so he dresses like Charlie Brown and wears the same beanie every single day. It's like, dude, change yourself to change the world. Work out more, get some self-confidence, take the hat off. It's July. You know, you're sweating with the hat on. You know, he wants to get you all riled up because he's not comfortable himself. That's why he treats his guests like garbage and some of his staff, because he's not a comfortable person. So he's projecting his weakness out on everyone else because he's an uncomfortable person in his own skin. He's so uncomfortable he can't take his own hat off his head. So how's he going to, you think he's George Washington? No, he's making millions profiting off people's, you know, wanting to click on headlines and emotions and anger. So I'm telling people, don't get angry and don't get emotional, because true strength is not falling for FBI traps. True strength is not going to do something irrational that's going to be used against you, your family, and your political movement for 5 years. They want people to be all riled up over this stuff. And a true quarterback, a true leader, a true strong man doesn't just freak out. You think Mike Tyson can just be super angry? No, he's got to be tactical or else he's going to get knocked out. You know what I'm saying? So not tactical is called following a vaccine salesman to the Capitol while he yells Mike Pence on January 6th and nobody knows what they're doing because their quarterback is working for Moderna. That's called not being tactical. What's being tactical is being like, well, you know, it's a chess game. If we go and do this stupid thing, and if a few people ruin it for all of us, now we're going to have 4 years. We're not playing on an even playing field. You get what I'm saying? When left-wingers do a bunch of terrorism, they don't get their whole movement shut down. The NFL, the NBA, they all say, oh, that we're going to start supporting this ideology. You know, and when a right, so it's not even, it's not equal. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm not bowing down to the tyranny. I'm calling it out, but I'm trying to counter it with reality. And when it comes to this sort of event, like when it came to January 6th, on one hand, this is what I was thinking to myself. On one hand, I wanted Donald Trump to win. I voted for him. I did think that there was some funny business in the election, and I was praying that all of that could be revealed. You get what I'm saying? I wanted him to have success. But strategically, I'm like, well, what's his plan? You know, he wants people to go to Washington because he wants to cry about Mike Pence not doing something that he really can't do anyway, and it's not going to lead to Trump being in office. It was like a crybaby fit, Hail Mary. A bunch of people didn't want to admit that they fell short legally with, the court filings and stuff for it, and they couldn't get enough evidence that would really turn it by January 6th. I'm not saying it's fair, but it's like, okay, if it's not fair, so is the right response to throw a fit outside the Capitol and inside the Capitol? Of course not. That's called now you ruin the movement for 2 years, because now they're going to use the FBI to go after everybody. So this is all I'm saying about this stuff. On one hand, I think Trump's probably getting an unfair deal. On one hand, I think Trump is probably did something not without any evidence. He probably did something that every president does, but they don't charge every other president, but they're looking for a reason to get him. On one hand, I think that. On another hand, I don't know, maybe Trump is foolish enough to take a really classified document that he shouldn't take and keep it at Mar-a-Lago. I'm not saying he's wrong, but I'm like, I'm not going to just emotionally be angry and scream civil war because it doesn't do anything. And the real thing that I'm trying to explain to people too is, on one hand, I'm a registered Republican. I voted for Trump. I vote all Republican. I'm voting all Republican in the midterms, and I'm going to vote Republican in 2024. With that being said, I don't think the solution is just to get angry and run circles around Trump no matter what happens, because when he was in office, he didn't really do as much as I thought he would do, and he ended up empowering a lot of swampers, putting people like Jared Kushner, Mike Pompeo, pharmacy lobbyists in high-level positions. And, they printed trillions of dollars, did socialism, gave big pharma money, worked with Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci. So you get what I'm saying from a strategy perspective. It's like, even though I like Trump better than Biden, even though I like Republicans better than Democrats, getting emotionally angry over something happening to Republicans isn't going to solve my problem, because when my party actually wins and gets power, they don't actually do anything anyway. So what's the point of me freaking out over a party that clearly doesn't even do that much in the first place? Someone said Anomaly still doesn't know whose side he's on. It's not true. They want you to have no identity of your own. I have an identity. I do news analysis. I do hip hop. I like to body surf. I like to play sports. I know who I am. I vote Republican. I'm probably more conservative and right wing than most of the Republican Party in theory. I just don't talk a big game and get a bunch of donor money. I actually do what I say I do. When I say I support the First Amendment, I mean it. When the Republican Party says they support the First Amendment, they pass speech loyalty laws for Israel and tell you to call everybody an anti-Semite when you realize it. So I really walk the walk. I really am probably more right-wing than Donald Trump is politically. But now it's not my side, because I'm not buying into you're either Coke or Pepsi. I'm myself. You know what I'm saying? I vote a certain way, but I'm not. I don't lack an identity. I'm not a cheerleader. I don't have to. My whole life doesn't revolve around licking dirt off of Mike Pompeo's shoes. If he does something great, I give him a thumbs up. If he doesn't do something great, I give him a thumbs down. It's called news analysis. It's called journalism. It's what ABC and CBS and Fox used to do. Now they don't do anymore. Tucker does a good job. There's a few people on Fox doing a good job. Newsmax does okay. There's some people doing some good journalism out there, but that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not a sports fan that just waves pom-poms, because that doesn't work. I've explained it the other day, but I want to really be clear again, because this is important for people to understand. I forgot to turn the slide on. The most successful leader and politician is somebody that can convince you that they're different, but they're actually not that different. So let's walk it back to Reagan. Reagan, very likable, very charming. He convinced people for a long time that he was really different. But if you look at his track record of what he did, he didn't rock the boat too much, but he made quite a few liberal mistakes, I think, that screwed over Republicans for generations. Then you had the Bush family, then the Clintons, then the Bush family, then Obama came around and said, I'm different, I'm half black, I'm a Democrat, I'm new, change is going to come. And change didn't come. He was more of the same, if not worse. And then Donald Trump came, and Donald Trump said, I'm different, and then he said he's going to make America great again. Then he was going to keep America great, but then he had to make America great again, because he didn't, keep America great didn't make sense, because he left America on not a great place, in 2020. And then Biden somehow convinced a bunch of Democrats that he's better than Trump. I mean, I don't know how a single person even voted for Joe Biden. Like, why would you think Joe Biden is better? But I guess some people do think that, well, if it's not Trump, he must be better. So the point I'm getting to is, yes, I vote a certain way. Yes, I understand the lesser of two evils. But what people don't understand, they're like, and this is why I'm telling people not to be angry and hateful and emotional. It's not because I'm soft. I'm stronger than somebody who's hateful and emotional. You could tell the truth and be passionate without being like a self-conscious, hateful, angry, emotional person who's afraid to take a hat off their head. So what I'm trying to tell people is, you don't have to be like that to be strong. A strong person can look at the system and say, yes, I vote this way because it's slightly better. But at the same time, the change that I think is going to come is never going to come until I stand firm and say, hey, you actually aren't doing that type of stuff. The only way to get it is people realizing. So, it's very simple, very basic stuff. I'll read a few more questions. I got a little sidetracked, but in general, that's what it is. Merrick Garland said he ordered it personally. He's not saying what Trump did. Trump's not saying what he did. So we don't know what documents they're talking about and why they're so upset about them. On one hand, I think the most likely scenario is, Donald Trump is getting an unfair treatment with something they'd let another president off of. But if you look at Trump's track record of being foolish and listening to bad advisors and doing dumb stuff and listening to Jared Kushner and John Bolton, maybe he really did do something stupid. I'm just being honest today. I'm like, maybe he really did do something dumb, that they shouldn't go all out for, but he kind of asked for. I don't know. I look at like who's going to benefit from stuff too. I'm not saying they planned it, but like, okay, say, Biden gets into office and the economy's going bad. Strategically, Republicans benefit because it looks really bad and now people want to vote Republican for the economy. Then you have the raid on Trump, and it could go two different ways. On one hand, if they arrest Trump or try to charge him, they could try to keep him from running office, and then the Democrats win. If Trump can't run for office, that would be a win probably for them if they don't want him to run. On another hand, if he doesn't get charged and they just look egregious, now this rallies the right-wing base. People actually are demanding, like people like Steven Crowder are demanding that people actually do something when they get in instead of just just doing normal stuff. So it could backfire and it could really help Trump. Now it's turned Trump into this victim figure in his base again. Most people are not interested in what the documents were or how bad it really was. Everybody comes to his defense. And makes him into this hero figure again. So, and then you have somebody attack the FBI, and now the FBI is this massive victim, right? They're like, oh, now if you disagree with the FBI, you're causing violence or you're inciting violence. So I always just look at who's benefiting like socially in general. I'm not saying it means anything. I'm not saying I know the truth about what's going on completely. We'll find out, I guess, as it's revealed, but we'll see. It's just something I think about. I'm going to put a few of your comments on the stage. Someone said Trump ain't going to jail. I would think probably not, but you never know. Let's see. Someone said seems like an alibi. I don't know. I could pretend like I know, but I don't. But I'm going to wrap it up probably and just keep it pretty short. But in general, I would say, don't buy into the anger. Don't buy into the hate. Nobody's going to change your life. I'm sorry. Trump's not going to save you. Biden's not going to save you. Even with the IRS agents. On one hand, I'm making decent money, so I already have to file taxes. I pay a lot. If I get audited, it is what it is. I don't want to get audited, but this is how America is. You pay your taxes or they come after you. So they're going to hawk our money more. It's not a good thing. I'm not happy about it. You're allowed to complain about it and tell the truth about it, but at the end of the day, they said there's two things that happen. You pay taxes and die. That's been a saying for a reason. So you're paying taxes anyway. It's not to say you can't talk about it, but you got to save yourself, as somebody said in the comment section. You can't just be hateful and angry and emotional. It's not going to work. That's not going to help you. There's no strategic benefit to freaking out over everything all the time. Got to focus on your life, your family, how you can improve. And from a financial perspective, this is just my take. I don't think people are going to be in the streets fighting each other because everybody's on the computer and people are just in echo chambers and they don't. Where are you going to go? Who are you fighting? Nobody's going. This isn't 1700s. People aren't going to fight that way. When things break down, cheaper neighborhoods that used to be safe become unsafe. And the more money you get, like say you're rich in Beverly Hills, it's not even really safe in Beverly Hills anymore because they know that you're there. So, if you go to Dominican Republic, it's not safe to roam around, but it is safe, somewhat safe if you pay enough money to go to a nice hotel with a bunch of armed security. I don't want that to happen in America, but that to me is the more likely scenario than just saying people are going to fight each other. Nobody's going to fight each other like that. There's going to be rogue events just like there always have been. You trace back to the 50s, 60s, 70s, there were always attacks. There were always assassinations. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but they happen. There were terrorist attacks. The Weather Underground bombed, I believe, the Capitol building. Look into that story, the Weather Underground, like Susan Rosenberg, etc. There have been terrorist attacks before. I'm not saying it's good, but there's so many fear mongers in this country on both sides that want you to think it's the end of the world. Because if you think it's the end of the world, that you just keep watching and you're addicted the same way like women watch murder mysteries and guys watch action movies. People keep tuning into the madness because it's like a profitable experience. When there's a capital attack of Trump supporters, CNN gets like record high ratings, So it's not necessarily bad for their business model. And for sure, the Biden administration got more power, more, excuses to go after the political opposition when people do dumb stuff. So that's kind of the main point I'm trying to get. Don't do dumb stuff. It doesn't work. Don't be angry. Don't be hateful. There's no one to fight. Focus on yourself. And if you really want to be safe into the future, definitely think about where you are. Do you like it? If things broke down financially or law enforcement wise, is it a comfortable place to be? No offense, but I wouldn't want to be in Philadelphia. I wouldn't want to be in New York City. I wouldn't want to be in Los Angeles right now. I don't really want to be in any major city, to be honest. But to me, that's where the future is going until things turn around, because we have certain issues that nobody's addressing, like demographics, immigration's too controversial to talk about. So things will change, and when things will change, so will culture, so will morals, and so will crime rates, and that's just what's going to happen, and it's already happening. So in general, it's just worth looking at and figuring out a solution to. And my only solution that always works every time, I can't control Trump. I can't control the FBI or Merrick Garland. I can do reporting. I could try to socially make a difference and wake people up. But at the end of the day, I don't really have that much power. But I do have the power to control my own life, work on myself, and try to level up and get where I need to be. I'll read a few more. Someone said, "It's okay, Anam. It's okay, buddy." I'm chilling. I mean, it's hot in here because I didn't put the air on. But besides that, I'm not tripping. Someone said, "Did I hear about the FBI office break attempt and shooting?" I literally just read about it earlier. Very fascinating stuff. Someone said, "I live in New Jersey." Well, there's nice areas in New Jersey. Every state, I'll just break it down. Every state has good and bad areas. Like people from, and no offense to Texas and Florida, I like Texas, I like Florida, I like their governors. Well, DeSantis I like better than Abbott, but whatever. Everybody has like state pride where they say, well, if you're in Texas, you're in good hands. That's not true. If you live in the hood in Dallas, you're not in a good area. You live in Houston, it's nice, but there's also bad areas. Austin has, there's good and bad places everywhere. Like if Florida has Orlando, Trump just got raided in Florida. Florida isn't this freedom safe haven for everybody. They have lower state taxes. You could find cheaper real estate there, but prices are skyrocketing because everyone's moving there. So obviously, if you want to pay lower taxes, you leave New Jersey or California. But, I think people in red states have so much pride that they act like their whole state's great, but it's not true. Every state has a city, and usually the city's going to crap, in my opinion. It's like Georgia's great, but Atlanta's not. It's like, Ohio's cool, but if you go to Cincinnati or Cleveland, they have some issues there. So every state has a city. Every city has crime. And, I guess I would rather be in a blue state in a nice area than in a red state in a bad area, but that's just me. Someone said, "I just seen you on Allison's podcast." Yeah, shout out to her for having me on. Let's see. Someone said, "Right-wingers love hierarchies and status quo." I don't know what that means exactly, but let's see. I'll read a few more comments. Someone said Orlando has good areas too. Yeah, they got theme parks and stuff. I'm not knocking Orlando. I'm just saying it's not like you go to Florida and everybody's right wing and there's no crime. Like, that's not, I mean, there's some pretty grimy areas of Florida. I'm not knocking the state, I'm just saying. Someone said, so happy you popped up in my recommended. Appreciate you. Abbott has his own page on the World Economic Forum website. I'm not surprised. And this is the stuff that, I mean, there are always going to be a few people that disagree, but I know the majority of people get what I'm talking about. It's like, these are the games that they play where it's like, oh, you don't know what side you're on. Like, it's totally okay to be pragmatic and be like, I think Governor Abbott is better than Beto O'Rourke, but I still realize that Governor Abbott is a sneaky snake and he's really kind of not a trustworthy guy. Like, that's okay to do. You know, people do that on my channel all the time. Hey, Anomaly, I like Ron DeSantis. I think he's doing better than most, but I don't like this law he posted. That's what we do here. But people come from, and this is why I'm not trying to be a dick, but I'm trying to talk about other channels, because every time somebody gets so angry at me on Twitter, like, I'm talking like angry cursing at me and stuff. It doesn't happen very often, but when it happens, I'm not even joking. I click on their Twitter profile, and every single time they have the same 4 people that they're retweeting. Every single time it has cat turd. Do you guys know cat turd? It's this fake cat account that's literally just like a Donald Trump ass sniffer / Republican that literally just says generic NPC Republican talking points and never questions anything ever. I'm not knocking it because it's a funny like troll account, but every time someone curses at me, they have the same 4 or 5 accounts in their section, and I'm like, no wonder why you're so mad at me. You live in a Republican echo chamber of people who just get angry and emotional all the time, and you can't handle like a something that cracks the reality bubble because you're in this thing of like, we're fighting the left. We're fighting the left and we're winning, and we're angry and we're angry and we're winning. And it's like, it's so stupid. You know what I'm saying? That's why I say this stuff, not to be mean or confrontational, but I'm like, I'm trying to break the echo chamber because literally people are being brainwashed, not just by left-wingers on the left wing, but by certain Republican accounts that say the same thing on loop. So then when somebody comes in and says, hey, I'm on your side, but here's what I think, they're just like, and they just get like angry because they're being brainwashed and like conditioned like an animal that like, we're at war. You know, you listen to these people, they're like, war, watch Steven Crowder, war, Tim Pool, war, and people are like, and then you're like, hey, you're like, that's not going to solve the issue, and people get mad. It's like, I feel like they're like brainwashing you to just be unhinged, and then like 1 or 2 people does something stupid, and then we all have to get blamed for it for 5 years. I'm not saying that they're causing it, but in my opinion, people are definitely not helping, with their influence and their, I would say power that they have. Someone said, how did that dude even get in? It's been to a field office in the military with TS clearance, and I couldn't even enter without an escort and being searched for weapons, and I was in uniform and orders with my hand. Are you talking about the guy with the FBI gun? I mean, I'm not saying like, because at this point, they don't even allow you to question anything, but I'm with you, MP. I mean, to me, it's very bizarre that they're if you read the headline, you think somebody went into an FBI office with an AR-15, right? Which is crazy. That's a crazy story. It's still a crazy story to go in with a nail gun, but they're trying to make you think in the media that this guy had like an AR-15 gun when he really had a nail gun. They're just saying it was like an AR-style nail gun. He went in with body armor and a nail gun. Nobody got hurt. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but it is just very weird, It's very bizarre. And it does make them the victim. So I don't know. I mean, on one hand, there are crazy people out there. On another hand, it's just a weird story. Someone said Anomaly has lost respect because he is so TDS. Here's what you guys don't understand, and I don't care. And I'm not knocking you because I appreciate you guys watching, but you think just watching on YouTube, like, okay, Anomaly questions Donald Trump accurately, and I can't handle the truth about how he operated, so I'm just going to act like Anomaly's emotional when I'm emotional. You project. You don't even know some of Trump's best friends. I mean, I'm just going to say it. When I met Marjorie Taylor Greene, who knows Trump way better than you, hangs out with Trump all the time, likes Trump, talks to Trump. You probably have never even met Trump in your life, but you'll lick the dirt off his shoes for $10. When I met Marjorie Taylor Greene, the first thing that she said to me is, she said, Anomaly, I love your channel. I've been watching for years, and I love how you call out Donald Trump with the vaccine. He's my friend, but I love that you're doing that work. Keep it up. That's what Marjorie Taylor Greene. So why does one of Trump's closest friends like my reporting and know that it's accurate and says, keep doing it, but you in the comment section says, you must have Donald Trump derangement syndrome because you're talking about pharmacy lobbyists that I don't want to hear about? No, you're emotional. I'm not emotional. I'm hilarious. But you know, it's emotional to block out any sort of scrutiny of somebody you like in politics, which is just crazy. You know what I'm saying? He's the president. He signed executive orders. You don't want to look at the 2019 Big Pharma executive order that he signed? Who's the emotional one? You literally idolize this guy like he's a Batman. I'm just telling you, I voted for him. I support him. I've been invited to the White House. I have every reason to stay silent so I could get invited more places, but I value the truth. I don't have a fake bone in my body to just be like, I'm just not going to do real reporting because I want to be liked. It's like, no, I'm going to tell you the truth about his complicity in the whole Big Pharma scheme that started from 2017 to 2021 and continues to this day. If you don't want to hear it, click X and listen to Cat Turd, okay? Cat Turd is more your speed. He'll be like, I'm Cat Turd. I love Donald Trump. And everyone's like, oh my God, oh, Cat Turd. Oh, I wake up every morning and he just licks at Trump's butt. Oh. It's like, you know, that, and these are, I'm not trying to be rude, but these are the people that get mad at me. Every time they have the same four, just like Trump sycophants on their page, and they've never heard anything else. They're like, any day now we're going to beat the deep state. And it's like, no, you know, it's not going to happen until people realize what's going on. But I don't care. I'm just being honest. Someone said, I saw Marjorie Taylor Greene at the Live tournament. She was with Trump. It's fine that she likes Trump. I told her, I don't care. I'm not somebody who's like, I'm doing my reporting. I like that Marjorie, she knows it's true. She doesn't say I have Trump derangement syndrome. She's friends with Trump because she knows what I'm saying is true. I'm not a politician. I don't have to make connections. I don't get donor money. You know, I've somehow, through the grace of God and your support, built a business where, if you guys haven't noticed, have you seen me run any ads? You know what I'm saying? And it's not easy to do. I mean, eventually I'm going to have to run ads because Facebook and YouTube are drying up the money that I used to get, but I somehow made a business where I don't owe anyone anything. So I don't have to say anything. I don't need to go to a donor meeting. I don't care if they ban me from CPAC. I don't, you know, these people do nothing for me. Everything I've gotten, I've built myself and has been supported through people. And that's, you know, I appreciate it, but it's like, most people are not saying something because they're you know, it's like they're doing something. This is what I'm doing. So it is what it is. Someone said Cat Turd. I don't dislike Cat Turd. I think he seems like a funny guy and he's a Trump supporter. It's fine. But I'm just saying, I'm not even joking. 100% of the time, it's not a bot, a real right-winger gets pissed off at me on Twitter. I go down their timeline and Cat Turd is always the first person they're retweeting. Or El Donaldo Trumpo, and, you know, just like super basic like Trump fan accounts. I don't hate these people. I think Cat Turd's probably a great guy. It's just like, people have never heard what I'm saying, so they freak out and then they project onto me and say I'm being emotional. It's like, someone said, did she say this publicly? I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not going to speak on it. Someone said Prince was right. I might do a whole stream on Prince, guys. So I found this 1999 video of Prince saying that, you know, the internet, don't let the internet swallow you up and stuff. It's legendary. What's even crazier, I'm going to do a whole live stream. I found a song from Prince from 1996 where Prince literally talks about vaccinations, and I'm not going to say it because they're going to block it, but it's in a song, and he's talking about gender switching. He was like the whole lyric is like, what are you going to do when you don't know a guy versus a girl? He predicted all this stuff. Prince is epic. And then I say that here's I'm not complaining because I'm used to it now and I don't care, but here's the dumb stuff I have to deal with. So I post a video of Prince, right? This video of him just being epic. And I just say he's a cool guy. I don't even like Prince's music that much. I don't hate it, but I'm just saying it's not like my top 20 favorite. But I literally just say Prince is a cool guy, whatever. There's someone in the comments saying Anomaly's a Freemason because, you know, Prince is a Luciferian and he's in on it. It's like, bro, you don't even know me. I'm not a Freemason. I'm 100% provably not a Freemason. I know myself. You don't know me. You call yourself a truther, and you sit there in my comment section and lie about me, and you're wrong. Like, does anybody ever think of self-accountability? Like, what if your entire life is a lie and you're telling everyone you're a truther and you're actually wrong? Isn't that kind of embarrassing? You know, so I don't personally care, but it's like, I can't even compliment Prince without somebody calling me a Freemason. Am I just supposed to sit there and like nothing then? Am I allowed to say I like, you know, a Justin Bieber song? Or does that mean I work with Justin Bieber? You know, what if I like a AC/DC song? Does that mean I work with, like, can I have a preference as a human being to things that I find enjoyable? Can I laugh at an Elon Musk tweet without being like, you know, it's like people get so crazy. And I'm like, I don't care. It's whatever. But people that get mad at what I say about Trump, they think I care, like I don't deal with it all the time. People literally, when you reach a certain amount of people and get thousands of comments, people are going to say everything. I don't care. I just find it funny where it's like, literally people will be like, you're working with Trump, you're too pro-Trump, you're too anti-Trump, you know, you're a Freemason, you can't compliment Prince. It's like, okay, then let me not share Prince's video. So even if Prince was that, I don't know that he was. I believe he died a Christian personally, but you know, and there's evidence for that. But if you think he was a Luciferian, does that mean you're not allowed to post a video where you agree with 20 seconds of him? I don't know. Like, well, who makes the rules of what you can and can't do? I control my social media and I do what I want, but it's just funny seeing, like, you know, that's why I try to calm people down, because I'm not just doing it to like cover stuff up. It's like literally people got to chill out and focus on themselves, because so many people get lost in the sauce. Then you spend 4 years freaking out, and then what if at the end of those 4 years you're not even right about what you talked about? You want to in some way be building your life either way, because everybody's wrong. Everybody goes down the wrong path. You want to be focusing on yourself and building your own life and creating a reality that's good for you. You don't want to be, you know, yelling at me on YouTube saying that you're mad that I'm pointing out pharmacy connections or I'm weighing out both sides of a story. We'll see. With the actual story that we started on, you know, this is the question that nobody knows now. Obviously, Merrick Garland looks very angry, and he seems like a very emotional, angry guy. We know they don't like Donald Trump, or they seem like they don't like Donald Trump. Are they tripping when it all comes out? Do you think, let me know in the comment section, do you think that they have exaggerated or, you know, framed Trump in some sort of way, and this is like a massive overreach of FBI, which is a very high possibility? Or do you think that Trump actually did something really dumb and just made another mistake? Let me know what you think, and I'm just curious. And Junior Coltrane, I see your comments, brother. The joke is on you if you keep watching my show. You've been here complaining for 30 minutes. Like, I appreciate people who watch. I appreciate you because you're driving the ad revenue up with your hatred. But jokes aside, brother, I don't watch people I don't like. You know, so the fact that you're watching for 40 minutes, you must like me a lot, because I don't watch people I don't like. So let's see what people say. Do you think that Trump actually made a really dumb mistake, or do you think they're just framing him and lying about him? Let's see. I'm going to read some of your comments. Someone said they think they're lying about Trump. It's a setup, says Linda. Let's see what other people say. Someone said Garland's daughter's married to the owner of the book distributor, the CRT books. I can't confirm that, but I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't know if that's true. Junior Coltrane says, I love your show, Anomaly, but you're kind of obsessed. You're kind of obsessed with me. I wouldn't say I'm obsessed. I guess I'll keep it with you because I appreciate you saying you like my show. I go with what I'm inspired to do, right? Nobody forces me to do stuff. Nobody makes me do anything. I go where I'm inspired. And my inspiration is just not in Republican cheerleading right now, because in 2019, I watched the Republican Party start to do sneaky stuff. I reported on it. In 2020, I watched them go full-blown communist and start playing along to lockdowns, you know what I'm saying, business closures, printing trillions of dollars, funneling money to big pharma. In 2021, I watched the leader of the opposition party run around the country and selling vaccines for Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson harder than Bill Gates. So I can't lie. I wish I could be controlled. I can't. I wish I could sometimes, so I could just sit here and wave my Republican cheerleaders and say, yeah, all we have to do is cheer on Donald Trump and defend him, and we're going to beat the left. I wish I could be like these other frauds and low IQ, analysts and just tell you this, because it would be a lot easier and I would have a base that understood it more. But I don't think that's the solution. My passion, and I go by my passion every day, I print this stuff out. I do the screenshots. I do there is no team. You know what I'm saying? You look around my room, it's all me. I do everything. So I don't have anybody else influence. I go with where I'm passionate about. I create the story. I figure out exactly what video I'm going to put where. I put it all together. So my passion is telling me that, there's enough people out there that just have their Republican pom-poms in their hand. There's enough people out there that say, it's everybody but Donald Trump, and the only way to beat the deep state is to just lick Donald Trump's boots and run in circles. Everybody's doing that. Most I know, and I'm not knocking people because I'm not trying to I do value some of my friendships, but most Republican influencers that I know, they know I'm right. It's not like they disagree with me. It's just they don't want to talk about it because it's more politically, financially, and socially convenient to sweep it under the rug. But this party's not going to do anything if we sweep it under the rug. So my passion tells me, drive this point home and make it a popular talking point. So if Trump gets in, or Rand Paul gets in, or DeSantis gets in, or God forbid, like Nikki Haley or Ted Cruz gets in, people are actually ready to hold these people accountable. I have some unpopular theories. I personally like Donald Trump 20 times more than Ted Cruz. I think Ted Cruz is a joke, and I tell people publicly to boo him at events. But if Ted Cruz won in 2024, people don't like Ted Cruz the way they like Donald Trump. So everybody in the Republican Party, this great MAGA base that was created, everybody would look at Ted Cruz not like he's their hero. They would look at Ted Cruz like he's a joker, and everybody in MAGA would hold Ted Cruz accountable. If Donald Trump wins, what I'm concerned about is everybody's going to take their hands off the wheel and say, well, whatever, just let him put in Pompeo and Kushner and this and that, and he's going to do the same thing over again, and nobody's going to want to talk about it. So that's why I'm obsessed with talking about it, is because it's the elephant in the room that everybody knows, but nobody wants to say for social and political reasons. So it's like you're almost better off with somebody that's worse than Trump if everybody's going to hold him accountable versus a guy that literally knows how to put on a circus. Like Trump knows how to make it seem like he's right about to do something, and then he never does it. You know what I'm saying? Like with Trump, even I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt because he talks such a good game. I'm thinking he's got to have some sort of plan, right? He's got to have some sort of plan at the end. He didn't have a plan at the end. He look at the pardon of Jared Kushner's father or father-in-law. Look at that part. These are the people Trump's pardoning. Look into that. I'm not doing the work for you. You can look into it yourself. And then it's like, the January 6th event was a total fail. Now he's in trouble with the classified documents. I'm not saying it's fair, but it's like maybe he really did do something dumb. At this point, I wouldn't even put it past him to do something dumb. But in general, it's like nobody wants. I'm like, can we stay focused and get something done or no? Because if someone else wins, Trump is the only person that could get away with this stuff. And you say I'm obsessed, but think about it. Take my emotion, your emotion out of it. Take the rhetoric of Donald Trump. Take him saying he's the father of the vaccines. They saved 50 million lives. They're the greatest human achievement. He rushed Fauci and the FDA to get them done super fast. He funneled them a bunch of money. Take that rhetoric and stick what Trump did there, stick it to any other Republican. Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens, DC Drano, Mike Pompeo, Mike Pence, Ted Cruz. Pick your favorite Republican influencer politician and take what Trump did and put it on them. Their career would be over. If Candace Owens ran around with the rhetoric of Donald Trump of 2021, her career would be over. If DC Drano on his Instagram started talking about the vaccines like Donald Trump talks about them, his career would be over. If I did it rightfully, my career would be. There's not a single Republican politician or influencer who can get away with the crappy pro-pharma cover-up rhetoric of Donald Trump. He's the only one. That's why I'm fascinated by this topic, because it's like, if Ted Cruz got in office, nobody likes him enough to make excuses for him. Donald Trump is like the ultimate idol. Nobody wants to address these issues, and I do. And at this point, I'm almost like notorious for it. In 2017, I was notorious. I would say my biggest video ever was telling people that Donald Trump wasn't that bad. I got 20 million views. Say what you want, but the original walk away and, people that were like, I was left and I was right, watch my video from 2017. It got 20 million views and inspired the next generation of walkawayers to say, oh, I did get fooled. Donald Trump isn't that bad. They're lying about him. So that was my big video in 2017. In 2020, I would say I was known for my COVID reporting. You could say what you want, but my reporting in 2020, I wasn't known for pro or anti-Trump. People realized that I was calling out the medical tyranny accurately. And these last 2 years, I've been one of the only ones, not the only one, but one of them, who's been willing to really scrutinize Trump's involvement in all of this big pharma tyranny. He is far from the victim. He put a pharmacy lobbyist in. He's funneled a bunch of money. I mean, he's literally in on it, from executive order to hires to funding to bragging. Every part, from rhetoric to policy, Trump is involved in all of it. Besides the mandates, he's involved in all of it. And no one wants to say it. So now it's become my thing. It's not because I'm obsessed. It's because it's one of the most important issues. It's one of the realest reports ever. And, when I do it, thousands of people comment on my Instagram because everybody knows it's true. The MAGA base is not dumb. There's going to be people that get fooled, but the base that has been built under Trump is not stupid. And I don't think they're stupid, so I don't treat people like they're stupid. And I'll tell you what, the majority of people get it. It's like the new silent majority is the people who voted for Trump, who realize that he's better than Biden, but are kind of tired of like the antics. You know what I'm saying? Like at a certain point, we defend him because we know that he's wild and it's funny. And, it's like, I don't care. Did I ever care? Was I Joe Walsh or Ben Shapiro saying, oh, he's tweeting too much? I don't care. I defended him for 3 years. Tweet all you want, bro. I'm about actions. You want to make fun of Mika Brzezinski? You think I cared when he made fun of Mika Brzezinski? It was for sure unnecessary, but, I think she can handle it. She comes from a family of political people. She's in on it, so whatever. I defended all his rhetoric. I don't care. What I cared about were the actions, and then the crappy rhetoric of 2021. So it's like, if he can prove again that he's that person, go at it. But I'm trying to challenge him a little bit because I'm like, dude, I think you could do a little better. But someone said, but what I'm trying to say is, I think the new, I got a little sidetracked. I think the new silent majority is the people who are like, I think if Trump runs, he'll still probably win. But there's so many people that are afraid of like the super MAGA base, because it's like, if you're like, hey, I voted for Trump twice, but I don't know, I kind of want DeSantis. It's like, a lot of people get it, but at the same time, a lot of people are like, nah, you got to just run circles around him. And it's like, I'll vote for him over Biden. I'll swallow my pride that I don't even have, and I'll vote for Trump over Biden if I have to. But I'm not going to pull a Joe Walsh and try to be like a View host or something. I'll be honest. But, at a certain point, I'm not a follower, and I don't think following him is a good idea anymore. And I haven't thought it was a good idea since 2019, So I'm just like, it's not that I hate him. It's just that I find that he's a false leader at this point, because his rhetoric, his leadership, his speeches, they're missing the point of what's going on, in my perspective. But yeah, I wouldn't say I'm obsessed, but I'm highly passionate about a subject that seems very important to the success of the right wing, but is very underreported. But people will find this stuff. It's like, the truth is the truth. The truth stands the test of time. People like Ron Paul were very unpopular, and the longer things go on, the more people are going to like Ron Paul. Ron Paul wasn't as Ron Paul will probably be more popular in 10 years than he was 20 years ago. You know why? Because Ron Paul was telling the truth about a lot of things. And, the truth stands the test of time. It's like, Yuri Bezmenov and G. Edward Griffin. G. Edward Griffin is more famous today than he probably ever was, because of an interview that he did in 1970. So, I've always played the long game with my music, with my message. Like, I understand it might not be popular this second, but I'm going for that timeless. I'm not going for a trend. Someone said, bro, speaking of Prince, another strange coincidence. Prince and MJ had the same protege when they accidentally overdosed both their homes. I don't know enough about that, MP, but I do know that Dick Gregory has weighed in on both of those. So I'm not saying it's true because I don't know the truth of the story, but Dick Gregory knew Prince and Michael Jackson, and Dick Gregory has a fascinating story about that. That's one of my favorite YouTube videos, is Dick Gregory talking about Michael Jackson and talking about Prince. Dick Gregory was a very epic American, for sure. Let's see. Someone said, I agree with everything except the election. He had enough evidence and Mike Pence could have done something. I mean, I agree to disagree. I just think that with the Mike Pence thing, I've said it before, I don't want to bore people, but he doesn't have the power to overturn an election. If you think a vice president can switch the votes, that's not how it works. He could have sent the electorates back in an unprecedented decision. And I'm going to make this really clear because I know people might not agree, and I don't even care if you agree, but I hope you at least consider what I'm saying. You got to watch what you say and just do things. This is my personal take. If you say, let's walk it back to Hillary Clinton. If you say you're going to drain the swamp and you say that you're going to lock her up and you don't lock her up, she's going to try to lock you up. That's how the world works. You don't want to talk about it if you're not going to do it. Just do it and don't talk about it, or do it and talk about it. Don't say it and not do it, because then you're probably going to get locked up or they're going to try to lock you up. You can get mad at me, but that's a fact. Okay? Now going to the election. Don't talk about Mike Pence changing the election, because Mike Pence isn't going to change the election. So now everybody said Mike Pence was going to change the election, got set up by the FBI January 6th and got in trouble. And now guess what? Now you're rolling out a red carpet for Kamala Harris to do what you guys didn't have the balls to do. I'm not saying you, but Republicans. So all talk, no action. I don't care what people say. I'm right about the Mike Pence thing. You shouldn't talk about it because it was never going to happen in the first place. So Trump brainwashed all supporters to say Mike Pence can change the election. He can change the election. He could have sent the electorates back in an unprecedented thing that's never happened. He didn't do it. So now, just like always, Republicans just screwed up and allow Kamala Harris, if the election doesn't go her way, to have the precedence of sending the electorates back to Democrats in other states. And guess what? Here's my personal take too. As a registered Republican who wants Republicans to win probably more than you do, if Kamala Harris does that, I'm not even going to be mad about it, because you kind of deserve it. Like game theory. It's like you say you're going to lock her up, you don't lock her up, now they're trying to lock you up. Duh. You know, you say Mike Pence is going to overturn the election. Everyone knows Mike Pence isn't going to overturn the election. Everyone knows Mike Pence isn't even going to try to overturn the election. You make it a thing, and now you open the door for Democrats to do it. And Democrats actually have the balls to do it. So I'm doing everybody a favor and letting them know how the world works. Donald Trump talks a lot. Donald Trump gets you in trouble a lot. Following Trump gets you in trouble a lot. Stop talking and just do things. You know, actions. Not running around the vaccine salesman saying you're going to overturn the election with Mike Pence. I'm not trying to be a dick, but it's like the Mike Pence thing was always a fail. And I was saying that too. It's like, what's he going to do? What can the vice president possibly do? Send the electorates back to Republicans who already sent them in? This is called Republicans just crying and not knowing what they're doing. I agree that the election was shady, but running in circles and setting Kamala Harris up to steal a new election isn't the solution. So people don't have to agree with me, but it's like I don't live my life this way. You know, you can't be talking so much and doing nothing. That's all Republicans do. They talk, and do nothing, and then they screw everyone up. I'm like, stop talking, just do it. This is why I actually like Ron DeSantis better than Trump. I don't trust Ron DeSantis completely. I do see the flaws in him. I have seen bills he's passed that I think are egregious, and I speak about them. But Ron DeSantis doesn't just talk all the time. He just does things. He's already done 30 things more than Donald Trump ever did, and he doesn't talk about them. He talks about them after he does them. And if he talks about it, the next day he does it. Donald Trump's a big clown. He just talks all the time, and then his supporters just follow him because he's their idol. He's not a good person to follow. He's a good person to vote for. He's a good person to stir up the system. He's not a great leader. He's not a great moral or political leader, in my opinion. I just think he constantly gets people in trouble, constantly says things and doesn't. This is why I like DeSantis more than Trump. He doesn't talk. He does, and then he talks about it in a very straightforward way. It's very hard to disagree with DeSantis because he's not making a big clown show out of it. He's like, I just passed a gender bill, and here's what the gender bill is, and this is why I agree with it, and this is why I'm taking the mandates away from Special Olympians, and this is why I'm going after Disney. He just does it. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't make a 50-year circus out of it. Nobody even talks about the Disney stuff anymore. Do you know why? Because Ron DeSantis is on to the next thing. And strategically, I know a lot of people made excuses and said, and even Trump, I think he was worried about what the media would say, right? A lot of times we heard reports that Trump didn't do it because he didn't want to look bad. The media hates you anyway. The media is never going to like you. Media narratives change in a second. Remember birth control? So does nobody. Remember the abortion, Roe versus Wade? Oh, that was so bad. Nobody even talks about it anymore. Remember gun control? Wait till the next shooting and they'll talk about it. So it's like things cycle very quickly anyway. So this excuse that he doesn't want to do things because, the media is going to paint him bad. They said he was Hitler before he did anything, so DeSantis understands this. He just does. And by the time the left wing is chasing the last thing he did, he's already 20 things down the road doing something else, and they forgot about that. Remember, don't say gay. Neither does anybody else. It's old news now. So this is just my personal take. It's like, I don't want someone that just talks and causes a scene all the time. You get what I'm saying? It's like, just do it, dude. Just pass the bill. Just sign the legislation. Don't make a big show out of it. So I think even with the Pence thing, this was my take. If anybody watched me back in January, before January 6th, I believe I said this publicly. I said, hey guys, Donald Trump has Mike Pence's phone number. Do you know why? Because Donald Trump chose him. He's not some random guy that Donald Trump's never met before. Everyone's like, we got to go to the Capitol to tell Mike Pence to overturn the... Guys, Donald Trump picked Mike Pence. Donald Trump has his phone number. Do you think I'm going to make a huge scene about somebody that I have their phone number for? You get what I'm saying? You don't think Donald Trump knows whether Pence is going to do something or not? It's his vice president that he works with and stands next to 100 times. Him and Mike Pence were in the room 300 times in 4 years because he stands right next to him. You don't think he knows? That's Donald Trump, though. Whoa, let's all go to the... Guys, he's got his phone number. I'm not being rude. This is a fact, If I'm going to talk about somebody, I'll talk to them. You know what I'm saying? I have friends. I'm not going to talk. Maybe they're going to do, hey, guys, maybe my business partner's going to do this if we go to the Capitol. Guys, I have his phone number. I could call a business. You get what I'm saying? If I'm trying to do business with someone, I could just call them and I'll handle it. And then I'll tell you what's going on. He acted like he didn't know what Mike Pence was going to do. And he's like tweeting, maybe he'll do it. Maybe he won't. Bro, just call him and then be transparent about it. It's always a big show with Donald Trump. Even now, I'm not saying it's his fault, but he had, no one wants to tell us what this search warrant's about. It's another circus. Merrick Garland knows what it's about, but I don't know. Donald Trump knows what it's about, but I don't know. Do you get what I'm saying? Both sides of this story know exactly what Trump did and why they're saying they did it, but we don't know. It's like a big joke. And I still, no matter what I think about what Trump did or this and that, I'll always defend him when it's the right thing to do. I personally, my guess is that both sides of the story are true. He probably did something stupid like he always does, but they're probably reaching on it like they always do. With the Russiagate, I was shocked at how good Trump was because nothing they said made any sense. They're like, Pokemon Go has Russian bots. It's like, you guys are so desperate to shut down Republicans that you're acting like a Russian meme of Bernie Sanders changed the election. Guys, I did all this reporting in 2017 to defend Trump because it was the right thing to do. It's like, oh, they reached 4 million people with an ad with Bill O'Reilly and Jesus. It's like, that's not overturning an election. You know what I'm saying? Ben Shapiro reaches hundreds of millions of people a week. But a Russian ad reached 4 million people with a Bernie Sanders color book? This is the type of crap they were doing in 2017. So I was like, damn, Trump must be the real deal. If they're so desperate to get him and he's got no info on him, he must be a really clean guy. I still think that's true. Unless this is a big circus where they're all just making a show, Donald Trump must be pretty clean because you got to understand, you, me, anybody, and this is why people rightfully like Trump. It's like anybody that has as much scrutiny as he's had, you don't think there's going to be anything that comes out about you, an ex-girlfriend that hates you, somebody that you knew in high school that doesn't like your politics. Guys, it's creepy knowing how crazy things get for certain people. They went after Dave Portnoy. Anybody that's a political dissident, they'll deep dive. So when the worst thing they could do about Donald Trump was like, yo, he got spanked on the butt with a magazine, I'm like, that's nothing. You know what I'm saying? That he must be a great person if that's the worst they could find on him, or they're not looking very hard. I don't know. But Patrick said, dude, you sound so effing stupid. Patrick the genius. Patrick, you sound really smart. You should start a YouTube channel and it should be called Smart Guy Patrick, and then you can tell everybody how much smarter you are than me. Someone said, Anomaly, I disagree. Trump was a trap from the start. Maybe, but I don't know. I don't know. I will say this, though. This is not, you could say it's planned. You could say this just happened, but this certainly happened. This is the dynamic of how they treated Trump for years, which is why I didn't even know what he was doing. / I give him the benefit of the doubt, even if he has some swampy people around, because I'm like, whatever, as long as you don't do what they want you to do. But in general, they have the left wing just hating on Donald Trump. If I could do a metaphor of what the left wing is doing, like say I'm a journalist, right? Here, I'll just pretend to be, say I'm a journalist. Here's left wing media. That's what they're doing to left wing and right wing media. They're just like Tasmanian devil, just screwing everything up. Like, Stormy Daniels, he got spanked on the butt in Russia. Who cares if he got spanked in the butt with a magazine? Here, come over here. I'll spank someone if I have to. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's left-wing media. So I don't know if they're purposely doing it or not. Probably, but one can say, is the right in on it, or are they just a victim? But they're so busy stirring shit up that you're not able to sit still. So there is no way to do real reporting, because it's like they're lying about Trump. I'm running around chasing their lies like, wow, they lie every day. But here's how they trap us, is in our pursuit to chase truth and chase them around, we're still chasing them around. That's why I respect people like, that just sit there and say, yeah, I'll cover the story, but I'm not just going to follow the narrative of like victim, guilty, left, right, That's what they want us to do. I use the narrative to get people's attention, and then we speak the truth and we do something outside the norm. But it's like, that's part of the system. I don't know. I'm not saying Trump was in on it, but it's like everybody's so busy running circles. The left literally lost their mind over left-wing media. They went crazy. And then the right wing just ran around defending Trump because it seemed like the right thing to do. So then there's nobody to sit there and say the truth. You know what I'm saying? Which is like, okay, left-wing media is insane. Donald Trump, not that bad. But at the same time, he's also not fully telling the truth. Like he said he doesn't take other people's money, but he did take Pfizer's money. He said he was going to drain the swamp, but he put in one of the swampiest people at the head. Like, there's no time to do that reporting because the left-wing media is like, so then we're like, yo, stop, So now I'm starting to realize that because I'm 5 years into the game, I'm hopefully getting better, not getting worse. But it's like, this begs the question, is the media literally just psychotically insane and right-wingers mean well and just get distracted? Is certain, Republicans in on it, and that's part of the circus, is like, make you the victim, make you the hero, make you the villain, make you the hero. And we either love or hate somebody, but the reality is it's like a big show. WWE is a perfect example which I actually like right now. I've never liked pro wrestling, but I actually love it because it's really hard to do. Shout out to pro wrestlers. I would say pro wrestling is probably more dangerous than like actually fighting someone, because you're doing crazy flips and things. If you're wrong by an inch, you literally break your neck. You know what I'm saying? Like, these guys are the greatest athletes I've ever seen in my life. Like, this coming from someone who loves sports, who watches sports, who plays sports. Pro athletes are some of the greatest athletes in all of sports. And if they mess up by an inch, they can break their neck. And they have broken their necks before because they're doing crazy gymnastic tricks and fake fighting. It's insane. I love wrestling now. It's crazy because I never used to like it as a kid, but now I love it. But in general, politics is a lot like pro wrestling. So in pro wrestling, they have a hero and a villain. There's always going to be a wrestler who's like the hero. You know what I'm saying? Oh man, he's the good guy. And then there's going to be, someone said, rest in peace, Bret Hart. Exactly. He fell. That was crazy. And then there's going to be the villain character. And at the end of the day, it is somewhat real because you don't know what's going to happen. There is a storyline. Some of it is spontaneous, but mostly it's controlled. But there is an element of reality in it. But at the same time, there is someone behind the scenes writing the scripts. So that begs the question with everything, right? It's like, is Trump really a threat to the establishment where he really is that good? Is it a mixture? Is he a threat to the establishment, but he can be a little bit goofy and clowny where he steps on his own shoes sometimes? Because like everybody, he has his own flaws. And I think someone made a good point. Like, does anybody have a father or grandpa? Once a man hits like 60, 70, you're not teaching an old dog new tricks. Like at a certain point, most grandpas, they're not trying to learn from you. Most of the time they're literally just like stuck that way. It's just like, it is what it is. So it's like, maybe Trump really is a good guy, but he's just stuck that way and he keeps making dumb grandpa mistakes and just doesn't want to learn. Maybe, like WWE, it's this big thing to get us to love, to get us to hate, to get us to fight, to get us to cheer, to get us to defend, to get us to attack. And at the end of the day, I don't know what it is. I can't tell people for sure. I'd be lying if I said it's for sure fake or I said he's for sure the real deal. I'd be lying because I have no idea. But from a timeline scenario, I find it fascinating. So he wins the election, right? They waste our time for 3 years with the Russia collusion. That was just annoying. And then 2020 comes around and Donald Trump kind of paves the way for lockdowns, Operation Warp Speed. He's in on it, right? Then the election is sketchy, right? And we all know it. So then there's 3 months where we're not talking about the lockdowns and they're still doing economic damage. Then January happens and there's this mysterious thing called QAnon that's been telling people for 3 years that Donald Trump's going to lock up the pedophiles and, secret martial law orders are coming and big government's good now when Trump controls the government. And then all these roads lead to January 6th, and then January 6th ends up being a huge, setup event where a couple hundred/dozen/thousand, I don't know how many people out of like 100,000, a few people ruined it for everybody and did stupid stuff and got set up, and some people got let in and others just went in. There was a combo of everything. So I'm just like, I'm not saying I'm taking my opinion out of it. Just from a storyline, it literally is like a movie. It's like he gets in, he's the hero, he's the villain, Russia collusion, lockdowns, both parties in on it, election that takes 3 months, nobody's talking about it, January 6th event, everybody goes, everybody gets set up. Now Biden's in office, and now they have an excuse to treat everybody that's against lockdowns as a bad person. Just like the Gretchen Whitmer thing where they used it to demonize everybody else. They used January 6th. People don't realize, but all of these people that were against medical tyranny, a lot of them were Trump supporters. So they were there. And now the entire anti-medical tyranny movement, the peaceful legal movement, has now been completely kneecapped by January 6th. So Donald Trump, the guy selling the vaccines himself, got a bunch of people who are against the vaccines and against mandates of the vaccines, got them in trouble. I'm not saying he purposely did it, but if this was just a random coincidence, what a good story it is. The vaccine salesman gets a bunch of vaccine protesters arrested by the FBI. Wow, that's a shocking coincidence. And then the coincidences just get crazier. It's like, okay, now we have Joe Biden in office and COVID's about to end and we need a new narrative because COVID's on its way out and they're not talking about it as much and they're giving us our freedom back and we're about to use gas and it's gonna be a good price and the day after all the nonsense ends or like within the same week that things are transitioning, oh my gosh, Putin just so happened to invade Ukraine and start this massive global crisis. Now we're giving money to Zelensky like he's Israel. You know what I'm saying? He's just taking tens of billions of dollars. And if you disagree with it, you're like a pro-Russia person or it's just like this new narrative where he's sucking up our money. And then the gas prices are rising and Pete Buttigieg is talking about clean energy. And, it's like, what a shocking coincidence. They wanted clean energy and now they have an excuse to get away from gas and make people think that gas is too expensive or too bad. And now Germany's getting bopped and Europe's getting further hurt. I'm not saying this is all planned, but if it's not planned, what are the chances that the opposition leader who's fighting the deep state lures all the mandate protesters to an event on January 6th where they get in trouble, and now they're not allowed to protest mandates anymore, while Donald Trump runs around right-wing media selling the vaccine and saying if I was in office, nobody would have been protesting the mandates because they're protesting Biden because they don't trust Biden. Like, this is what he was saying on media. I'm not saying it's scripted, but it is seeming like a WWE show. I'm not saying it is. The world is crazy. You know, people have fake narratives about me, so I try to be the change I want to see in the world. I don't like when people make up lies about me and they say with 100% certainty, anomaly is this, and they're wrong, and I'm laughing because I'm like, if you said maybe or said possibly, I'd respect you. Where it's like, I don't know you, I don't know the truth, but I'm gonna just say that I think you're doing this. I would be like, okay, that's fair. But they're like looking me and saying, I'm 100% sure that I'm 100% wrong. And I'm like, okay. So I try to do the same with Trump and all this stuff where it's like, I don't know. On one hand, I think he could be a great guy. On another hand, I think he could be a joker. You know what I'm saying? I do think he acts kind of clowny. I do think that his like old man character flaws constantly shoot himself in the foot and nobody wants to talk about it. But, you know, on one hand, I think he could have an extremely kind heart. I tend to think that the Trump family is a good people. They keep a lot of good people around and they keep a lot of bad people around. But I do think, you know, the Trump family has good intentions somewhere beneath there. But that doesn't mean I have to say that. I don't know. There's people that think the opposite. I'm calling it like I see it, but I definitely, action-wise, I'm not fully impressed recently. Someone said nobody is perfect. Of course, and I'm not asking people to be perfect, but I guess one thing that, you know, people might misconstrue with me, and I'll try to explain, Trump has dealt with so much media bullshit, right? So when it comes to media, do you think I'm a top 1,000 threat to Donald Trump? I've helped him probably more than 99.9999% of news people. And this isn't a competition. I've had people that were like QAnon supporters that get mad at me. And then we have a debate and they admit that I was the one that inspired them to like Trump in the first place. So it's like, how mad could you be at me when I'm the one who got you to where you are? I don't agree with you, but it's like they're mad at me and they like, I'm not doing it for any sort of praise or anything, but people don't realize how much influence I had on Facebook from 2016 to 2020. I got almost 1 billion views. You know what I'm saying? I've got through to millions of people. So you could say I'm such a terrible guy. I helped Donald Trump more than most people in his administration even helped him. Okay. So I've already done my fair share of helping people perceive Trump in a more positive light. So I don't feel bad about it because I've already helped them. All right. With that being said, he's not a weak guy. You know what I'm saying? I don't look at him like he's a baby. Everybody treats Trump like a baby. You know what I'm saying? They're like, he's my hero, but he's a big baby. You can't critique him. You can't say it. Like, I respect him enough as a man that I don't think he's a big baby. He's a politician, he's a leader, and he's making some very critical mistakes that are ruining a lot of things, and I respect him enough to call him out. And yeah, I get a little rough sometimes, but do you think I'm even a top 100 rough person to Trump? He's heard it all. People in the media hate him. I actually can look into the camera and say, I think you are a good guy under there. You know, I'm sure he would appreciate the fact that I'm not just sitting there acting like he's Hitler or freaking, you know, a devil or something, you know, so I'll say some harsh things, but at the end of the day, Trump has dealt with way worse than me. You know what I'm saying? He's dealt with people that are evil people that to the core hate him and don't care if it's true or not. That's not me. So it's like, I don't think he can't handle what I'm saying. And this is just what type of person I am. I'm competitive. It's politics. If I run for office, guys, you're allowed to question things that I do. If I hire a pharmacy lobbyist and I was a governor, you should ask me about it. I wouldn't say, oh, you hate me, you're a Trump derangement. It's like, no, you're a politician, you're a public servant. That's what you did. This is what I feel about it, right? There's nothing intrinsically wrong about that. But so many people think they got to just cheerlead. So, you know, I don't think he would be that flustered by what I'm doing because I'm actually a thoughtful person. Like, most people in media are not thoughtful enough to be like, I think he could be a good person. They're like, he's evil. They said that from day one. They said Donald Trump was like, they painted him like he was literally the worst person in human history ever. They literally gave him the same like Hitler treatment. They're like, Donald Trump is literally Hitler and he's the worst thing since 1960. You know, like that's pretty much how they treated Trump from the day one. So do you think he can't handle what I'm saying? I actually am saying I think he might be a good person that's just goofy. I call him clowny because he does act clowny. I don't know any other way to say it. You know, it's like, I did the vaccines. And I'm like, dude, it is very clowny. It is very funny. But at the same time, it's not funny. I'm like, dude. So it's all. Steve said I am perfect. Congratulations, Steve Sly. I believe you. Congrats, bro. Maybe I should hire you. I need a perfect person on my staff, you know? Jesus is busy, so Steve, you're the next best. Someone said you make very good points, always well thought and articulated. I appreciate it. Some say that, others say that I effing suck and I'm effing dumb. So I do appreciate the compliments because, you know, they're hard to come by sometimes. All right. Let's see. I'm going to just read a few more and then I'm going to roll out. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the stream and the podcast. For those who don't know, I'm just going to run a few links real quick, maybe read one or two more and roll out, but I hope this doesn't freeze. It freezes sometimes. I have a podcast called the Dream Rare Podcast, and it's literally just this. So if you haven't seen yesterday's episode and you want a counter opinion of somebody that is, you know, even nicer than me, I don't know if nicer is the right word, but you know, if you don't like some of my rhetoric, I think you'll like his. Check out my yesterday's interview with Mike Yoder. It came out really great, and we did that on Facebook and everything. And patreon.com/raretalk, Facebook, YouTube, BitChute, all that's at dreamrarelinks.com. And my free email list is stayintouchwithme.com. So as soon as this goes back live, I'm going to just click the end button and try to end the stream. But yeah, check out that interview yesterday if you want something shorter. And I have a lawyer that, you know, kind of weighed in on stuff. It came out great. Appreciate y'all. Have a beautiful day. And I will be back very, very soon. Thanks for hanging out.